Okay, so folks, check it out. You're in business right now. It's 2022. It's August. How do you finish the year strong? How do you sprint to the end of the year? Knowing that we're in an inflation, well, now it's a recession in 2022. What does it look like to not only sprint, but then be able to create the platform and be able to do what you have to do next going into 2023? Well, today I got a guest with me by the name of Shawne Merriman. What's up, Shawne? How you doing, brother?
Man, how you doing?
Super honored that he's in the office today. Shawne is somebody that I met out through a mutual partnership with David Meltzer. And what Shawne brings to the table is not only life experience, professional experience, but he is a phenomenal entrepreneur in multiple businesses and does as part of his overall package, he's in the space of life insurance. And Shawne, I can't be more honored to have you here on our show today. Thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. And it's always good to meet when you know somebody, a good person mutually, right? I mean,
yeah,
there's not very many people out here that's that's like Dave Meltzer. He's such a great person. And one thing is always willing to help. I've known Dave for over a decade now.
Wow.
And so I just watched him starting out his career and then hit his rock bottom and then bounce back.
Yeah.
And then still always willing to help, man. And one of the helps that he's done is introducing us. So
yeah, it's incredible. And you talk about rock bottom though, because I think that when everybody watches, shows like this, YouTube University, they want to get educated. I think the great story is in how people recover from rock bottom. And we know David's story, he talks about it often, is where he lost $100 million and had certain business deals, which kind of resembled what happened in 2008 with the real estate market when it went south and all the other things. But the thing I admire the most about David is he always says it's about abundance given with no expectation except for appreciation. And it's funny because when I met you out in, I want to say Costa Mesa.
Yes.
When I met you out in Costa Mesa, like you were so affable, came up to me and made me feel really comfortable because you as an athlete, I'm sure all the time people are looking at you, trying to talk to you, always have an expectation. And you were super cool when you came and you met the rest of our team that day. And I can't tell you how grateful I am for that.
No, man, you know, one thing I learned growing up is that, you can have all the success in the world, but it's how you treat people.
Yeah.
It is. That's really what it comes down to is how you treat people. They will know who you are. They will come up to you and they watch your games. But what you really love to hear is, man, that what you just said, those type of things. And I see it online sometime. And even now, I see, back in 2009, man, my cousin, you came up and signed this. Like, that stuff is really cool for me.
Wow.
And so, just keeping a level head, man, but also just, I like to get after it, man. I'm focused, work, and just loving what I do.
So thanks for sharing that. And let me just kind of start like this. It's always good for people to understand the journey. I love the journey. The journey is the best part of it. Where are you actually from? Like, where did it all start for you?
Yeah, I'm from Maryland,
really?
Prince George's County, Maryland. I grew up, born in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
Went to Frederick Douglass High School in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and then.
So in D.C., were you like in Washington, the urban area of D.C.? Was it a tough neighborhood?
Yeah, we grew up. Yeah, and then PG County when I grew up was very tough in the 80s and 90s.
Competitive.
Very, very, very.
Do you have any siblings?
2 sisters.
Okay, youngest, older. Where are you?
Both younger.
Okay,
and
so
I'm the older.
Got it.
Yeah, and then so I came from the area of Kevin Durant, Michael Beasley, Vernon Davis. I mean, we had so many athletes that kind of come from that.
You guys all came up at the same time?
Yeah, around the same time.
Okay,
we all came up.
So was your high school like a predominantly good football or good football basketball? Like, what did that look like?
We only lost like 3 games total while I was in high school in general.
Were you like a standout freshman too?
Yeah, I was a freshman JV. I wanted to move up to varsity.
Okay.
But I didn't have this. Actually, I didn't have any size until about my sophomore, junior year in high school. I had a spurt.
Well, so as a freshman, do you remember what your size was like?
Oh, yeah, I was 5'9", 140 pounds.
So there was no, maybe except in your mind, there was no thought eventually you'd play in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I had that mentality.
Yeah.
Right? I had that mentality at the time, and that's what separated me from everyone else. There's a lot of people that's big, strong, fast, athletic, especially when you get up to the pro level, but even sometimes when you get up to the college level.
Yeah.
But what separates a lot of these guys is mentality and your approach to prepare.
Thank you for that, Shawne, because a lot of entrepreneurs that watch our show, some people have had advantages from mom and dad. Some people just did it on their own. They just grinded it out and they learned from their mistakes. And you're talking about right now what we like to say when someone has an edge on themselves. What was it in your makeup, even in earlier years, that gave you that mentality that you just talked about? Can you put your finger on it?
Yeah, I grew up homeless, a couple of different times. We lost our home due to fires. Me and my sister slept in back of the cars with my mother. shelters, rundown motels, things like that. And so when those type of things happen to you at that age, it kind of molds you into the person you're going to be. Like, you have a different layer of skin than everyone else. You know, somebody else's bad day isn't your bad day. And I talk to people all the time, and it's, man, I'm having a terrible day. I said, okay, what happened? My car didn't start.
My shoelace.
Yeah, broke. You know, I didn't have time to do this. I mean, I said that's not a bad day.
Yeah,
a bad day is coming home from practice and seeing an eviction notice on your door or your lights cut off. That's a bad day.
Did you find yourself having to bury those emotions? Like,
well, you know, football was my escape.
Right.
Yeah, football is my escape, not just because of the physicality part of it, but being away for 2 hours and you can get your mind off of it. But knowing you got to deal with that when you get home.
Yeah.
So, and then also too, finding a way. That's my number one thing. I will find a way. When somebody said things don't work, I say no, it works. You just haven't found a way. And so as long as I keep that mentality of finding a way, no matter what, you're going to be successful.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm hearing constant, never-ending improvement. I'm hearing looking at half full, not half empty. I'm hearing that, you know, as adversity came your way, it was another thing to overcome. And I'm sure, and just, you know, help me here, that every time you overcame something, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, there was like a meteoric rise or an increase on the base camp of the mountain. What was that like as you began to get a tough skin? But also, at the end of the day, I'm sure that you did not pick on people as a result of that. But
right.
Were actually, you know, you probably were a beacon of light to certain people based on your experience.
Yeah, because what happens is you're able to share your story, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody think that whatever they're going through at that time is the worst thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't believe it. And somebody else out there is going through something a lot worse than you, but walking around with a smile on their face.
Yes.
And it's not about what happened to you, it's your reaction and how you deal with it. And so when you start thinking about it like that and realize that there's a lot of things going on out here, it's not just you become an inspiration to somebody that may be going through that dark time.
Yes.
They don't think there's no light at the end of the tunnel. No matter what I'm going through right now, it's not going to work. And so when they hear your story or something you've been through, they're like, okay, well, if he made it through it, I can do it.
Yeah. And during that process, did mentors start coming into your life? Like,
yeah,
that began to help elevate?
It did. Well, I had phases of mentors in my life because obviously when I was just a football player, right? Yeah. That was my main thing. It was, you know, guys like LeVar Arrington, you know, played down for the Redskins, down the Commanders at the now. Ray Lewis was a huge mentor of mine that took me under their wing. So you got your football mentors.
Yep.
And then as you get older, you get to the pros, you start having mentors in business and other things that you're considering doing.
Yeah. So you got a nickname in high school, right? And, you know, we're not celebrating what happened, but the nickname is very interesting, which I was wildly impressed when I heard it, but you want to share with the folks how you got the name Lights Out?
Yeah, so I was I got my nickname my sophomore year in high school. I knocked out 4 kids in one game.
I'm not laughing at that. It's just, I've never heard that in my life.
Well, you know, it's a different time, right?
Yeah.
You know, we were celebrated for knocking guys out at that point in time. And so anyway, I had about 20 students come running to me and said, man, you knocked those guys' lights out. And I said, okay, well, yeah, call me Lights Out.
Yeah.
Just threw it out there. Didn't think it was going to stick. Next day I got in school that Monday. And everyone's called me Lights for Lights Out.
Lights Out.
And so I begged my mom to go, and I got a Lights Out tattoo on my right forearm.
Wow.
And so, you know, at that time, I didn't understand that I was doing something called branding.
Yes.
I didn't know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I've always looked at myself as more of a forward thinker, and I'm 10 years ahead of the curve. You know, when things aren't a big deal, like when I trademarked and bought the IP for Lights Out, nobody was doing that in 2005, 2006. Nobody, it just wasn't important.
Yeah.
You know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years later, now all of a sudden trademarks are valuable.
Yes. Brilliant move, by the way.
You know, so thank you.
Unbelievable.
And yeah, so that's where everything started.
And for me, I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, you got the nickname Lights Out. Your world is changing now in high school. I'm sure you're getting a lot of, like, you know, fans and people. How did you first, because listen, when somebody becomes a professional athlete or really financially successful, they have to be able to really be able to overcome certain things and survive that success.
Right.
For you, as you began to come up, how were you able to survive success, especially leading into what college you were going to go to?
Well, for me, it was difficult because we never had any money.
Yeah.
You know, so how can everybody that you grew up around never had any money? So how can anybody direct you on what to do with money?
So you didn't know what was happening to you at that point in high school?
Well,
did you understand that there was a brighter future?
Oh yeah. I never, at no point in time did I ever feel that it's over.
Yeah.
No matter what I never had that attitude. I never had an attitude like, hey, this is just not going to get any better.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it was times that, you know, you kind of tuck your head down. You say, man, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
But it was no point in time where I ever thought that I wasn't going to possibly make it to the NFL or be successful in something, whatever I chose to do.
Yeah, because whether you made the NFL or not, it's clear to me you would have been successful in anything you decided to do. Like the NFL was obviously a great platform, but just talking with you and getting to know you, you know, you would have found something and been very successful at it anyway, like you are now post NFL.
Yeah,
right.
It just the NFL was a vehicle.
Yeah,
right. I mean, there's no, in my opinion, no greater sport in this world. People can say soccer or anything else, but no greater sport in this world, definitely in this country, but in my opinion, this world, than the game of football.
Yes.
And so you use that platform, that notoriety, that brand that I built with Lights Out, and start to venture out into other categories, other business, and grow up because of something you started when you were 16 years old.
Amazing. And when you decided what college to go to, how was that process? Was that a challenge for you?
I did not. I committed to University of Maryland my junior year, and I didn't look anywhere else.
And that was it.
And I had offers from every major college you can think of, and I just.
And how was
Maryland was home.
How was college for you?
I was there for 3 years.
Okay.
And you know, I grew up 17 minutes from the campus.
Oh, so everything was always close.
Oh, it was close.
Always went home that day.
It was close. Mom. Yeah, if I wanted to go to Thanksgiving, my grandmother was cooking.
Yeah,
you know, friends and family. I had, you know, my boys I grew up with.
Yep.
You know, some of them. You be at the football games in college, and it was good, man. It was you know, there's no place like that DMV area.
You know, so for us, the regular fan, right? You know, we hear about athletes that, you know, make it to professional sports.
Yeah.
And at some point when they retire, within 5 years, there's financial challenges.
Right.
Now, I don't know what statistic is true or not, but what I'd like to talk about is the mindset of the athlete that, you know, maybe has to feel responsible for families and friends, financially, and so on and so forth. Did you have those challenges, number one? Number two, if you did or did not, how did you overcome either side of it?
Yeah, the toughest challenge with me was dealing with family.
Yep.
Especially when you come from where I came from.
Yep.
Because you're in your head, you owe it to your family. You know, they were around when you didn't have anything, and the first thing you're taught to is to give. And if I could take it all back again, I would have still given, but you would have did it in a position to teach, so they can do it themselves.
Yes.
And so in a sense, you handicap people by giving.
You do.
Because they just expect.
Yeah.
So if I can go back in time, I would still help, but I would put them in a position so they can do it on their own.
Yes.
And so you don't know this as a young 20-year-old kid because nobody's there to tell you.
School.
They don't teach you that stuff in school, which is another whole conversation.
Yes.
But you know, when you learn these things after time and you wish you can go back and change it, you can still change the future. Because think about this. Football for me was only a short period of my life. I played 8 years.
Yep. Which is far beyond the average, right? It's like 2.5 years.
3 years, So I played double the amount of time that I should have played, but more importantly, it's such a small part of your life that you have plenty of time to learn. Like my learning curve at early 20s were the mindset of a 40-something-year-old, because that's, you start later on as a businessman, you come into success later on.
But not a lot of players think like that, though, right? So somewhere along the line, you had something that maybe the average player didn't have, whether better listening, whether better mentors. What would you say that would be?
Yeah, I never stopped learning.
Yeah.
I never walked into a room or to a meeting that I didn't leave from and I didn't learn something.
Understood. Got it. So that was always a mission for you.
It was always, what can I take? How can I be a sponge right now to get this information? We talked before we got on camera. I didn't know anything about the insurance industry 3 years ago.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about that.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I have 207 agents. But
any insurance folks that are listening right now, by the way, he just said he has 207 agents that work within his system. I want you to think about that. This is stacking, this is building, this is momentum. This is where you're able to create ecosystem mergers through social and relationship capital and be able to maximize on opportunities by putting yourself in position with the right people. But you got to make sure that you build a platform that when these relationships start, you could do what you said you were going to do and be able to really kind of step into it and produce results that you said you could do. Yeah. But with that, Shawne, thank you so much. One of the things that I always tell athletes when I speak to them while they're in the game, they could set up family pensions, kind of like the Rockefeller approach where there's a bank for the family, and whenever members want or need money, they'd have to take a loan from a policy from the family bank and pay that policy back. But also you'd be able to create, you know, if somebody in the family is going to be the social media manager, or if they're going to be whatever kind of manager, they would get a salary. Mm-hmm. So now they could cover Social Security. but you, the athlete, would have policies on them through your life insurance bank, so it perpetuates not only getting multiple use of each and every dollar, but now, to your point, it's an education for them that, hey, yeah, here's that $7,000 car, but you got to pay it back over the next 4 years through this bank.
Right.
Right? Like, it's one of those things that
we
try and share whenever we come across a current
wealth,
athlete.
It's wealth and it's long-term wealth, and there's no long-term wealth like this, like the insurance.
Yes.
It's just not.
Unreal. So, all right, 8 years in the NFL. What was your greatest NFL moment as we shifted to retirement and you took some next steps?
I would say Monday night against the Raiders.
Tell us all about it.
Monday night against the Raiders in 2006, probably one of the greatest games. I think I had 4 or 5 sacks. And the thing is, what people need to understand, Monday Night Football is it. Yeah. Right? You're the only show in town. There's nobody else.
The nation's watching.
The whole nation's watching. So, you got your Thursday night game. People watch that. But Monday night is it.
Yep.
And if you show out and have your best games Monday night, it puts you up on a different platform than anyone else. And then it was against the Raiders, which I've always hated the Raiders. And
what was the best season you had while you were there?
17 sacks. Yeah.
And then as a team, though, what was the best team that you had?
I would say 2006.
Where did you go? How far?
Yeah, we went, I think, the second round in the playoffs or something. We had a first round bye and we got put out the second round by the Patriots. But I walked into a locker room with potentially 5 Hall of Famers, and LT and Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates.
How was Rivers? How was playing with Rivers?
I mean, it's not a
like
better guy.
as a leader, as an action oriented leader.
Yeah,
like same thing with LT.
I haven't played with anybody that's more of a competitor than Phillip was.
Wow, amazing. All right, so Shawne retires, and a lot of athletes retire, and they get a lot of opportunities, I assume. But it's in those spaces of those opportunities that you have to make the right decision. Right? You have to know who you're surrounded by. Tell us what happens after retirement and how eventually you get into the space of life insurance.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I don't care who you are, or even if you got things lined up, which I did. I went straight to NFL Network. I was doing TV. I had my Lights Out brand apparel I was selling in stores. But it was nothing like running out to the crowd of 70,000 people.
What does that feel like?
You can't explain it.
You can't match it, right?
You can't match that feeling running out there. And the millions of people watching you. We have big plays. Everyone's texting you, and that.
Hold on.
Yeah.
How does the athlete survive that when it's done?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the hardest. That's the hardest part. You got to figure that part out because there's a identity, crisis that you go through. I don't care who you are.
Yep.
You try to figure out. Hey, I don't have to wake up at this time anymore. No one's blowing a whistle. I don't have to watch film. Who am I?
Yeah.
So that goes through everybody, and I had plenty of things lined up. Unfortunately, I did have things lined up and ready to go.
Now, how'd you do that though?
Well, I started doing it while I was playing.
Boom. There you go.
That's where I think a lot of most athletes, make that mistake.
Yeah.
Is they want to start when they get done. That's not what you do.
Yeah.
During the off season, whatever you want to do, start to get into it. You don't have to do it full time, but start to dabble in it.
Yep.
Get things set up because it can be done at any moment.
And what were some of the things that you were setting up?
I was setting up Lights Out with the brand, looking at different licensing deals. The apparel space we launched in Tilly's and downtown Locker Room, multiple stores. I mean, I was in about 180 doors in the country.
And this was while you were
this was right. I started planting those seeds, right?
Yep.
Talking to the buyers,
amazing,
building the brand, meeting different designers, warehousing, and then when I got done, I just jumped in it.
Yeah, and then you ran with that. How long did that last? What happened next? What did that look like?
Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah, all right. So that's, is that the primary though? Is that
no? I mean,
what would you say your primary business is right now?
It's Lights Out Extreme Fighting.
Okay,
I own a MMA promotion.
So now you want to share?
Yeah,
that?
I own Lights Out Extreme Fighting. You go to check us out at lightsoutxf.com.
You say that again one more time.
Lightsoutxf.com.
Yep. Awesome.
We're on Fubo TV, so you can check all of our fights out in Fubo. That's my baby.
Yeah.
People say that no, that's my baby infant. Blood. That's everything.
And you hand that down to your kids.
Yeah, it's something that we'll see. I mean, there's so many different variables. But we have great partners in the streaming with Fubo. Couldn't get better.
And you were sharing off camera that what you've done is a little bit extraordinary because the kind of partners you have in streaming typically require much more out of pocket to get to that space. But innovation, once again, something you're very good at. You've been able to maximize who your brand is and being able to get those partners without so much out of pocket that the normal people would have to do in that scenario. Is that?
Yeah, and like I said, when you bring something to the table, right, then you become an asset. And I tell anybody in any business, if you want to be important, you want to, make sure that your job and your position is secure, be an asset.
Yeah. And that's what you did.
That's what I did. I'm an asset.
Yep. And then, so this is your baby, and is it a big year coming up post-COVID now?
It is. And we're looking to get back started here soon, and then we go every month for a year. It's a year-round business.
Yeah.
And the good thing is we're adding more fights. Yep. I would like to do 2 fights a month, which is a lot. But I would like to get to that point to provide more content to our streaming partner.
It's interesting. I was watching a video the other day of you, and I don't know the relationship, but once again, innovation. I saw you like sharing a moment on camera with Dana White when he was walking by. Is he a mentor to you? Is he somebody that you speak with often? Is there a connection there that could, he shows you what to do, or was it? It seemed like you were getting some good tutelage just in that little.
Yeah, we obviously being a fan of the UFC, right? I mean, if you think about the sport of MMA, it's as big as it is because of what they've done, right, over this last 2 decades. And then you got some other leagues that's also doing well, so I don't want to kind of, barrel them down. They've done well. But, when you talk about the grand scheme of things, what the UFC's done, and the innovation they've created, and then the nose that goes on behind the door. I mean, can you imagine 15 years ago when somebody telling you that this sport is not going to be a thing, not going to be big, and all of a sudden it's one of the most watched sports we have in this country?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I'm a partner of platinum partner Tony Robbins, and he was on Tony's stage being interviewed, and like he was like 30 days from bankruptcy, raising like millions of dollars in the last moment just to get that thing off the ground. So to your point, there was a lot of no's that he went through, and proximity is power, right? And at the end of the day, if somebody, if whether you call it networking, ecosystem mergers, which is what we like to call it, at the end of the day, it really comes down to, how he was able to kind of just overcome life's obstacles and be able to kind of take this to where it is now. So it's always interesting now, I look at the life insurance industry as an industry that really not only creates generational wealth and whether it's, creating multiple uses and becoming your own bank, whether it's final expense, whether it's really building out a process and a system, it's meant to serve the greater good. And typically, and I've never seen a lot of athletes in it. And then all of a sudden I've seen a couple now, and maybe it's a West Coast thing in the last 6 months. Can you talk about how you got into the industry and how it made sense and what you're doing now as an entrepreneur, which, by the way, people are in the business for 30 years and they don't have 200 agents underneath them. So that's pretty incredible too. Yeah.
Well, I like to get after it, right? I mean, it's the only way I know. I'm all or nothing. And I got into this business in the first place. One of my close friends during the pandemic introduced me to Family First Life, and I met Shawne Mike. And things, we hit it off, things went well. But more importantly, the fact that they were giving agents 100% compensation, I was like, it's all I needed to know to start out to get me interested. They never thought that I would actually go through the licensing process and spend the time. And I said, no, we're in it. Yeah. And, I tell anybody, if you didn't create something else during that pandemic, you were in trouble.
Yes.
Everything I had from my MMA league, all my TV shows, I had 2 other companies, everything shut down in 4 days.
Yes.
Everything.
Yes.
And so immediately I started to pivot and say, okay, I'm going to grow something else. Yeah. I started my podcast with Fox Sports and iHeart at the time. We did well. And then I started insurance. Yeah. And at that point, I realized the more and more I looked into it and found out about this history, this country's history of insurance, I said, okay, well, it survived the Great Depressions. Yep. It survived all the recessions. Yep. It survived all the pandemics. Yep. Why isn't more people doing insurance?
It's always the question. Yes.
And
it requires a certain amount of commitment, but that's why.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the part.
I'm talking about the agents, not the people buying it.
Yeah, but the truth of the matter is that it's 2 things that I know how to do. I know how to commit, and I'm disciplined. Yes. Right. Athletes are the most disciplined people on the planet Earth.
No question.
And with those 2 things, it's really helped me out in doing 90% of what I do because I'm disciplined in doing it.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to add to that is, from what I've seen in my short window, is not only commitment and discipline, but also innovative, creative, and also you could see what a lot of people don't see, and that's down the road. Right. Right. So that's just understanding your story as you shared it with me right now. Well, when we look at the insurance industry, to Shawne's point, like, hey, listen, since the Spanish-American War, since World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, You look at the 70s after the Korean War, where we had hyperinflation, Black Monday in 1987, 1990 first ground war in Iraq. That happens to be when Chubb Rock jumped on the scene. 2000, in March of 2000, we had the internet bust. 2001, 9/11. I was down on Wall Street at the time. And then 2007, the Great Recession, or let's call it the Great Potential Depression, but it turned out to be a recession, leading into where, all of a sudden we had a magnificent run. COVID hits. They sped up the recession. And now, today, we are now feeling the effects of the printed money. We are now feeling the effects of delayed gratification. We are in a recession. And what Shawne's talking about and what he's doing is somebody that knows how to merge ecosystems. Shout out to Sean Callaghan and Unblinded at the highest level, because he's now serving the greater good, not only from the insurance perspective, but as a business entrepreneur in multiple businesses. And this is a guy that also spent 8 years in the NFL, who, by the way, at times when he was in grammar school, was homeless. Take that story, think about that story, and understand that no matter what's going on in your world, at the end of the day, if in fact you want to be able to make that change, that generational change in your family, it really comes down to discipline, hard work, and being able to innovate and create. At the end of the day, it's so important to understand that. And Shawne, if any of these folks want to get in touch with you for anything you do, whether it's final expense, whether it's your AAA, MMA stuff, or anything else that you do, how would they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can check us out at lightsoutagency.com. Follow me at Shawne Merriman on Instagram, Twitter. And
we'll put this all in the description.
Yep. Instagram and Twitter. And just reach out. A lot of agents that are serious, even the ones that come from, I'm looking for more agents from other companies. I'm not, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So if an agent, ready? This is a good question, but let's say if an agent is captive.
Right.
Can they become contracted with you on the final expense side?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So like, listen, guys, gals, if you're looking to bring more value to your clients as an agent, because you may have life insurance, I get it, and they may be using it as a bank, but final expense also could kick in for other family members or grandparents or some other things. Because does it require medical?
No.
How does it work? Like for someone that wanted to buy a final expense?
No, I mean, you look at age, medical history and things like that. But for the most part, what final expense becomes a necessity.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I can't tell you how many GoFundMe pages I've seen over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's funny because I grew up lower middle class, to be clear. My parents went bankrupt. We never paid our bills on time. There was a lot of love, but there was, sometimes the heat went off, that kind of stuff. And when my dad passed away, I never got him insurance. He was uninsured. Now, I was doing really well. I paid for the funeral, but there was no final expense insurance.
Right.
There was no final expense insurance for my brother Tommy, who just recently passed away. Right. I mean, think about that. So at the end of the day, when that $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 bill comes in, you'd like to be able to have it.
Yep.
And not have to think about it.
Well, the thing is, the final expense insurance and burial insurance, cremation, all of those things, it isn't for you, it's your family.
Yes.
You don't leave them with a $25,000 tab on your way out.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously,
it's true. And even if they have life insurance, they should still get this. Correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because I think at the end of the day, it still lets the family get the other monies that they're going to need to live on. Minus your absence over the next 10, 20, 30 years.
Right.
Right. So Shawne, what's your message, just in general, that you'd love to just kind of share for anybody out there, whether it's business, whether it's life insurance, whether it's giving hope, anything you could think of right now?
I would say is just always keep moving forward. That's my number one thing, and whether it's in business, life, just keep moving forward. Whether it's slow, fast, or anywhere in between, just keep moving forward, because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you keep moving forward, you're going to end up at the place you want to be. You could get there a lot faster, you could get there a lot slower, but you're going to get there.
And my question to you is, if you could have it all, and you think the next 5 years, what does it look like for you? Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
It's a nonstop building process for me, and I'm one of the ones that actually enjoy the process.
Yeah.
And so when I build whatever I'm trying to build, I'll be looking for something else to build.
Yeah,
and that's the scary part.
No. It's funny you say that, because whenever I come across the hyper entrepreneur, it's always the one that really focuses on the process, not the outcome. The outcome takes care of itself. And because things are always a moving target, because of technology and things are always changing. What we might want today, 5 years from now, may be different by the time we get to year 4.
Right.
Because there's so much change that's happening. And we're like, wait a minute, I don't want to limit myself. It could be a lot greater than I even thought of. Yeah. Right. So I think that's what you're saying there. And at the end of the day, you like to keep building at all costs. I love it. So folks, if you like what you heard today, just keep in mind, we're dropping content on a daily basis. I'm trying to bring in some of the best folks that can not only give you their story, their journey, on how they've overcome certain things and are visible and proof of success, what it looks like, go ahead, click the link below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask questions. If there's other videos you want me to do, please tell us in the comments section. And at the end of the day, always hit the follow button, because every day when we drop new content, we want to make sure that you hear it. And once again, Shawne, thank you so much for taking
thanks
time.
for having me, man. I appreciate
you coming in today. And have a great rest of the summer.
You
and
too.
Looking
You
forward
too.
to building some all beautiful things going forward.